Hello, hello to everyone who is joining us. We'll get started in just a few moments. We are super excited for this third session, so feel free to grab your midday coffee or your brown bag lunch, get some notes and note paper ready to go because we're going to have some really good time here today.
Absolutely. Welcome.
We hope everyone is having a good day. Today is Tuesday, June 15th. I can't believe that it's already June. Where did 2021 go, Selenia?
Norma, there's a saying, time flies when you're having fun.
That's for sure. Yes, I agree. Yes.
And in your words, we were very productive this year.
Yes, it's never busy. It's always productive.
Love it.
And they also say that time flies when you have a routine. So if you're always in a set routine every day and you never step out of your routine, time flies even faster, which is kind of interesting.
Very interesting. I have not heard that before. See?
Yeah.
I learned something new today.
I guess then that means that we should stop and smell the roses more.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. And celebrate the wins along the way, right?
Yes. Celebrate big wins.
Yes.
Well, speaking of celebrating big wins, landing an interview is a big win. So let's kick this third session off to a fantastic start. We're going to go ahead and get started because we know we have a fantastic audience joining us today. And so you've landed the job. You ask yourself, now what? Well, let's start this off correctly. It's time to prepare you. So we want to, number one, say thank you to everyone for joining us and taking a look at our video and joining us at this time or even at a later time, because today is all about the interviewing process, but it's also to make light of the fact that interviewing is like dating. And this presentation is a partnership with Iowa Works and Kirkwood Community College. And our presenters today are from Kirkwood Community College and the Skills to Employment team, who work with several grant programs to help job seekers gain new skills and to help employers fulfill their workforce needs. So when you hear the phrase interview, what comes to mind? Yeah, exactly. I'm going to bank that you're thinking it's a verbal tryout, or, oh my gosh, I am so nervous. I don't know what to do. And, if you think about it, it's like going on your first date. You get all nervous because you're thinking, what should I wear? What do I say? What do I do? But don't get worried. That's why we have this presentation for you today. So in this presentation that we're doing, we're hoping to provide you with some strategic answers to your questions that you might have throughout this webinar. And as such, our itinerary for today is going to be sharing an introduction of our speakers, providing you with an overview of our topic, which is how interviewing is like dating. And of course, we're not going to leave out our tips and tricks, along with some time at the end for some questions and answers. And of course, giving you the opportunity to speak with some of our experts.
So please allow me the privilege to introduce you to Ms. Norma Havlicek-Smith. Norma has been in the world of student support and academics since 2003. Norma's portfolio includes being an academic advisor, dean of students, director of student services, placement coordinator in the staffing industry, and currently works as a workforce career consultant with Kirkwood Community College and partners with Iowa Works. Norma has a bachelor's and master's degree in communications. She's also a distinguished Toastmaster, a certified program planner, and a certified Colors facilitator. Norma's related experience is that she has 15 years of coaching job seekers in the job search life cycle. And of course, she too has her own personal experience with navigating interviews and landing the job through tips and tricks being shared today.
Thank you, Selenia. You know, if I was speaking on stage, I would love to have you do my introduction. You're so wonderful. You're awesome. Now, let me introduce my co-host for today, which is Mrs. Selenia Carew. So Selenia is an extraordinarily accomplished and vested community member. Mrs. Carew considers herself a portfolio of community resources with a professional philosophy to identify and maximize every networking opportunity as an opportunity for collaboration. Selenia received her Bachelor's of Science in Business Finance and a minor in biology from Iowa State University. Go Cyclones. And that was back in the spring of 2004. Now, Selenia also speaks 5 languages, ladies and gentlemen. She speaks Mende, Tamini, Creole, French, and English. Now, Selenia's previous work experiences with 6th Judicial District as an ex-offender specialist. She also worked at Rockwell Collins in international accounting. She was also in the Paths and as an Empower program coordinator in 4 Oaks. And she's also a business owner of several franchise stores, including Boost Mobile and U-Haul. Selenia will attain her master's in marketing and communications management from the University of Dubuque in summer of 2022. Good luck on that, Selenia. Mrs. Carew also has 9 years of facilitating resumes, job searching, and interviewing workshops. Selenia is a person of influence within the workforce professional network and whose opinion is highly sought after and whose judgment is well respected and trusted. Today, Selenia offers her expertise as a workforce career consultant with Iowa Works and Kirkwood Community College. So let's talk about those techniques for a successful interview. As we mentioned, interviewing is like dating. So we're going to have an honest conversation about what this all means. We're all kind of guilty of researching people prior to that first date. We're eager to learn about them, align our interests with their hopes, and establish a connection. Yes, connection is the key, and possibly establishing a long-term relationship with them. Think about it. We are at work 40 plus hours during the week. That is a long amount of time to spend with other people, which means it is a type of relationship. So similarly, you are expected to research the company. Let's add eagerly research each company with the goal of aligning your career interests with the company's mission and vision. And it's also encouraged that you research the person who's interviewing you. Okay, wait. Let me clarify. The research that we want you to do is a professional research within the scope of social media, specifically LinkedIn. This is where you can make that connection in the professional level. We do encourage you to stay away from Instagram or Facebook or other social media like that. But it is common and understood that knowing some facts about the person who's interviewing you and having something in common can really bring down the walls and really opt for a great connection. Now, investing some time in researching the company and your potential role in the company will give you a stronger chance to establishing that connection with your interviewer and establishing a possible offer for employment. Now, as the famous and motivational speaker Zig Ziglar would say, success occurs when opportunity meets preparation. And just like in dating, first impression is lasting.
Great reference to Zig Ziglar, Norma. Now, let us talk about preparing for an amazing professional conversation. Research, research, research. I cannot say that enough. Just like dating, the most important topic of the conversation is, what do you have in common? Dun, dun, dun. Research the job description, align it with your skill set and qualifications, like the hard skills, your degrees, your certifications, your knowledge of computer programming, and more. Research the company and align their mission and vision with your short-term and long-term goals. Soft skills, interpersonal skills like what's their style of communication? What is their structure of leadership and management? Your research should allow you to make strong connection with your skill sets and the job description. Most importantly, you should be confident in aligning your interest and the company's mission and vision. You should feel less anxious for your interview.
Let's talk about the preparation for that interview, specifically what you wear, what you should smell like, what you should see and not see. So some of the first tips that you see on this slide. Number one, avoid cologne or perfume. Here's the thing, our noses can smell things that maybe others cannot, or maybe our noses are really sensitive to certain smells and we don't know what the interviewer is going to be like. So let's make sure to avoid any cologne or perfume to ensure that they're not judging us on what they smell. Number two, cover tattoos and piercings if the industry or company requires it. Three, dress according to industry standards, similar to what your current employees wear. So these second two bullets on tattoos and piercings and dressing, well, the question is, how do I know what they dress like? And a really easy tip for you to follow is Monday through Thursday, do a drive-through of their parking lot and take a few moments to observe what those employees are wearing. Now, I said Monday through Thursday during business hours, but why wouldn't we look on a Friday? Exactly. Most Fridays are casual or business casual. So that means that a lot of people on Fridays might be dressed in jeans and gym shoes or more casual outfits, which means then if you look on Monday through Thursday, you're going to get a better idea of what to dress during the interview. Now, another bullet point here is we want you to understand that it's really in your best interest to prepare questions for your interviewers and make sure that you bring copies of your resume in a folder or portfolio. And the next bullet point is plan to arrive about 10 to 15 minutes early before the interview starts. Now we say about 10 to 15 minutes early because you also want to give yourself time to park and to walk in so that you arrive still early in the reception area. Now, some of the questions you might have is, well, how many questions do I prepare for the interview? We typically suggest preparing at least 5 interview questions, and we'll jump into that a little bit more in a later slide. Now, when you do these preparation methods, this is also giving you an opportunity to ensure that, again, that first impression is really positively established. And we're also going to tell you that your wardrobe choices should also be very neutral. You want to keep in mind to dress in neutral colors like navy blue or black or even gray is a great choice.
So COVID-19 has influenced the hiring culture. The new norm for recruiting, interviewing, and working is virtual. More companies are interviewing via virtual platforms like Zoom, Skype, Google Hangout, Microsoft Office, or Microsoft Teams, and other virtual platforms. This means more job seekers have to be internet and technologically savvy. So let's talk about some quick tips for successful virtual interview. Again, the first step is always preparation. Research the company, review your resume, and practice aligning your skills with the job description, and make sure to prepare questions for your interviewer, like Norma mentioned earlier. To minimize technical difficulties, schedule a practice session with a friend. Your goal is to familiarize yourself with the virtual platform, do a sound check, explore video framing, select a neutral background with natural light. Move your interview video window right underneath the lens so it gives that illusion of an eye contact with your interviewer. Remember to log in 10 minutes prior so that you can self-adjust. Be present. Body language is very important. Make sure you use your facial expressions. Smile and nod. And remember, make a great first and last impression. Now, let's not forget, if you are interviewing in person and you have to wear a mask, let's discuss some tips in reference to wearing a mask during an interview. We encourage you to smile with your eyes. Speak slowly and clearly to allow yourself to project. Use an enthusiastic tone. Remember to pause in between the conversation and catch your breath. You got this.
I can't imagine dating in this world of the pandemic. I mean, if you think about it, going through the interview process and dating virtually can be really stressful. And so these tips and tricks that we're sharing are just to help you be more at ease with who you are and to be as organic and forthright about who you are. But also, we want to make sure that you're not scaring off the other person who might be interviewing you. So this next part, this is where we're going to ask for a little bit of audience participation. So the first thing, when it comes to the crash course on an elevator pitch, what in the heck is an elevator pitch, you ask? Yes, if you imagine walking into an elevator and then pushing the third floor button, it's going to take possibly about 30 seconds to 60 seconds to get from floor 1 to floor 3. And if you had an opportunity to speak with that person in the elevator, that's about what we say is an elevator pitch. So that timing. And in that elevator pitch is where you're going to set the stage for who you are. So the first thing that you want to do in that 60-second elevator pitch is smile. Yes. We want to see the crow's feet. Yes, that means it's a genuine smile and teeth and smile and a nice firm handshake up and down. Now, not too many handshakes, okay? Just nice, firm and confidence, shoulders back, again, smiling. And then let's demonstrate and let me tell you a little bit about how that 60 seconds should be fulfilled. 1, you always want to introduce yourself. So, hi, my name is Norma Jean. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for your time in meeting with me today. So your introduction, then say a little bit about who you are. If you're currently working, what is your current job title or what is your current role? So it might go, hi, my name is Norma Jean. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for meeting with me. I currently work as a workforce career consultant, which means that I get to work with a vast variety of people and helping them with their career goals and also helping employers meet their workforce needs as well. So my favorite thing about working with the things that I do is I get to work with people and I get to see them go from good to great to amazing by helping them get new skills and re-enter the workforce. So notice what I did. I expressed enthusiasm for what I do, my passion and my love, and I said it in a sincere tone that really wants people to keep listening, hopefully listening to what I want to say in further parts of that interview process. So if you think about it, it's like speed dating, but in this case, speed networking. It's very important that you research the company and identify the positions that they are hiring for, so that way you can also tweak that elevator pitch to try and meet their mission and vision within that 60 seconds too. Now, similarly, if you think about it in the dating scenario, you're introducing yourself, talking a little bit about you, and then also making sure that you're talking about your hobbies, but you're also getting more information from them, because this is a two-way street and we want to make sure that you are building that connection. Because again, creating that first impression is going to be huge.
Preparation. Preparation has been the theme throughout the presentation. Let us recap on tips previously shared, in addition to Norma's favorite, the 5-5-5 rule. 5 pens and pencils, 5 copies of your resumes and reference sheet. Why do we need 5 copies of our resumes? Sometimes you're going into an interview expecting to just have one interviewer, and then you might be surprised with a panel interview. So being over-prepared is always great because it eliminates or minimizes that anxiety. Also have those 5 questions previously mentioned by Norma. We say 5 questions because sometimes your interviewer will also answer those questions during the initial introduction of the company and what the company stands for and the overall big picture of the company. And so if for some interesting scenario, the interviewer might have answered few of those questions, you will at least have a minimum of 3 questions to ask after the interview. And we encourage for you to ask those questions because it shows that you are interested in facilitating a conversation from that employer. Like Norma said, in dating, it's a two-way street. You want to talk about yourself, or you also want to encourage your partner to talk about themselves so you can show that you're interested in learning about them. Now let's talk about vocal variations with your responses. We're going to talk about the do's and then we'll talk about the don'ts. The do's: answer your questions with the START technique. Norma will build upon that soon. Maintain your eye contact with your interviewer. Be focused, be confident, and be enthusiastic. For the don'ts, don't forget your body language. Don't fold your arms. Don't cross your legs. Be casual, but not too overly friendly. You have something to offer. Enjoy your conversation with the interviewer.
As Selenia mentioned, when answering questions, the best technique to take is using the STAR method. And most of the questions that you're going to be asked are behavioral-based questions, which means that the interviewer wants to know the situation, the techniques that you used, the actions that you took, and then the results that happened from that entire behavioral question. So again, use the STAR method when answering interview questions, especially when they ask, please tell us about a time that you, and then you fill in the blank. So again, the STAR method, STAR. Let me give you an example. I'm the interviewee. I'm going to be asked, Norma Jean, tell us about a time that you had to deal with a difficult coworker. I'm going to breathe. Okay. It's okay to take a deep breath and say, so in a situation that I had to work with a difficult coworker, let me tell you of the situation. Okay. So what you're going to say is, a time that I had to deal with a difficult coworker was when I might say, there was a time where I was working with a coworker who had some personal stress going on, and that seemed to be leaking into the professional area, into our workspace. And they were really stressed out. And I wanted to make sure that I was being helpful to that person. And so what I did was I asked them, can I help you? Is there something that I can help with so that you feel less stressed, as I see that you look a little bit concerned and worried? And then what I did next was I asked if they would like my help. And then I said, I would love to schedule some time with you if you would like to work out a time where I can hash out what you would like from me to do to help you with your workload. Now, just by asking that person who was really stressed out if I could help them and what I could do, and then also offering my time to work out a plan with them, they then put a smile on their face. They took a deep breath with me, and then they also took me up on my offer. After that point, we met for a few minutes. We hashed out some time to talk through how I could help them. And then what's really, really cool about the situation is a month later, they had their annual review, and they came back to me and said that their review went really well because their supervisor had noticed that they were able to complete the rest of their tasks on time. And I was able to help them out, and again, created a good relationship with my fellow peer. Now, as I use that summary, number one, I also never talked negatively about the person or my current company that I was working for. So you never ever want to talk negatively about a person or the company that you're working for or any other prior businesses that you worked for. But I also made sure that I was very concrete and specific with the actions and the situation and the results, because nowadays interviewers want to know what those results are. And here's the true test of this too, is they also want to see how well you can communicate, keeping it succinct, keeping it concrete, and being able to identify if you fit their needs for that job.
Great example, Norma. And as earlier mentioned, you talked about networking, and you also mentioned the elevator pitch. So the elevator pitch could be used in this specific question right here that says, tell me about yourself. You can use that elevator pitch. Now let's take a step back. Yourself. Who is the expert in the room? You or the interviewer? Who knows you better than you? You do. So you're the expert of you. Remember to keep your response brief. Answer the question honestly, and don't forget to match your skills with the skills required for the position. And that's the component Norma mentioned earlier, which is do your research on the company. Do research on the specific job description, their mission, their vision, and make sure you tie that into your responses throughout your interview. Imagine being a participant in The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. You made it to the top 10. You have come this far for a reason. You have the skills required, and you are a desired candidate, hence the invitation for this interview. It is time to tell your story and make sure you stand out from all the other candidates. You got this.
Yes, you do. And it's so true. When we're asked questions, it's not that we can't answer them. It's the fact that we have to think on the fly. But also, sometimes if we prepare enough for the standard questions that most interviewers want to know, it makes it a whole lot easier to answer in confidence. Two questions that we often hear a lot being asked are, what is your greatest strength? And then what is your greatest weakness? There is some psychology to these questions. It's not just that they want to know if you have a strength or a weakness, but it's also about telling us how you capitalize on your strengths and how you have overcome your weaknesses. Interviewers know that we are humans and that we are not perfect, but they also want to know that we are in progress humans and that we are constantly developing, growing, and being as best and better that we can be. So when they ask you, what is your greatest strength? What do you want the employer to remember about you? Which of your skills makes you good fit for that position? So when you talk about your strength, talk about a strength that specifically relates to that job that you're applying to. You want to make sure that you give an example of how you have demonstrated that skill too. So not only that you have the skill, but what have you done with that skill to show it? That's really critical. Give them a visual example, meaning a verbal visual. Give them a concrete example. Now, the weakness. Here's the question that everyone has a tendency to tell us, Norma Jean, Selena, how do I tell them that I have a weakness without telling them I have a weakness? Here's the thing. Deep breath. We all have weaknesses and nobody's perfect. You want to be honest about something that you have improved upon professionally. So if you say, for example, I used to be really bad at not meeting my deadlines. So I used to be bad at not meeting my deadlines. Then you say, I have significantly overcome that barrier because I now carry a hard copy planner. I use my Outlook calendar on my computer every day. I set reminders for myself. I have a smartwatch. I have my calendar on my phone so that there is in no way an opportunity for me to miss a deadline. And I also make sure that I include soft deadlines with each person that I'm working with so that I understand what is the concrete hard deadline and what are those soft deadlines that need to be met so that, again, I am never late for a deadline. Notice that I said what my weakness was, but how I have overcome that and what I have done proactively to make sure that it never happens again. And now here's some critical information. The job advertisement may contain clues for you on skills you have not yet mastered, and that's okay. But be careful not to share a weakness so crucial to the job that it will be a red flag. Now, I mentioned time management, but I also talked about what I do to ensure that it never happens. Another one might be communication for sales positions. So you want to be extra careful about what strengths that the employer is looking for, and then talk about a weakness that may not really be a red flag. We hope that makes sense. Now, I've also mentioned a couple of times to breathe during the interview process, because you have to breathe. Otherwise, you might get out of breath and become flustered, and we don't want that to happen. So just be calm, cool, and collected, and just know that you are also interviewing them too. And the questions that they are asking you should also be indicators of what it might look like and what it might feel like to work for that company too. Some additional questions that you could be asked are, how do you deal with stressful situations? If they ask you how you deal with a stressful situation, what does that indicate to you about the work environment? Exactly. It's going to be a stressful work environment. It might be very fast-paced. You might have a lot of work to be doing. You might be working with lots of people or projects. So in this case, you want to be detailed with your response and consider what might be the first thing that you do when you're in a stressful situation. How might you deal with that? Again, go back to that STAR method: situation, technique, action, result. Tell them about a time that you had to deal with a stressful situation. Now, another question that they often ask is, why should I hire you? This is where the information that is on your resume may not be what they're looking for. They may want to know what makes you a star interview candidate, which means that you want to tell them what makes you a superstar. Talk a little bit more about your personality. What makes you the top-notch candidate? What puts you over the edge amongst anyone else? Remind them of your education, your experiences, and skills that are relevant. Talk about those soft skills that you bring to the table. Talk about other skills that you can offer that others might not. For example, Selena, I love talking about this, is Selena can speak 5 languages. That is an amazing skill to have, and something that she should always capitalize on if she was ever to go out for an interview. So think of something special and unique about you that you can bring to that workforce table.
Thank you, Norma. So now we are here at this place of what questions employers should not be asking. These are all the list of those sensitive topics. As you glance at this list, let us talk a little bit about how we tend to veer into this lane. Sometimes in interviews, individuals get comfortable. They overshare, which could lead to the topic of inappropriate questions. Let me give you a scenario. I get into the office. My interviewer tells me to have a sit. I'm a little nervous, so I take a seat. I'm looking around and I see a picture of their family, and I compliment the picture of their family. And almost immediately, the employer also creates small talk and asks me, do you have any kiddos? So it's natural for me to say, yes, I do. And then I'll list their names and some details about them. And here I'm talking about having a 2-year-old. I'm talking about having an 8-year-old, a 13-year-old. But then, in my experience, I'm able to pull in my knowledge about interviewing to also build upon my dependability and reliability by also including, and they do attend a daycare that provides a wraparound service for them. It's an amazing facility. I'm able to drop them off there at 6 o'clock in the morning and pick them up 6 o'clock p.m. And I just cannot provide more glowing reviews about that facility and how dependable and reliable it is, and what an amazing experience I have had so far. And overall, just the positive influence in the lives of my kiddos. And at that junction, yes, I am having a conversation about an inappropriate aspect of this scenario, but I'm also easing the employer by letting them know that me having a young kids is not going to eliminate me from being that strong candidate, that dependable, reliable individual that will bring value to their organization. So you see how we have to be careful in an interview to not over-disclose. Now, as you look at this list of different categories, I'm going to welcome Norma into this conversation to see if she can share her experience of potentially having an inappropriate question asked in her interview experiences in the past. Norma?
Yes, Selenia. Okay, I will tell you about my situation. Many years ago, before I had a lot of my interviewing experience, during an interview, I thought it went really well, and it was a group interview. So I was me and then 4 or 5 other interviewers asking me lots of questions. We were sitting at a round table, and the interview seemed to go really well. And at the end, we were all getting up out of our seats, and one of the interviewers asked, Norma, is there a Mr. Havlick Smith? I almost choked on that question. Why do you think I almost choked on that question? Yes, exactly. So 2 violations were made on that one question. If you look on the list here on the slide, there are 2 categories that they assumed or wanted me to identify an answer. One was my sexual orientation by asking me if there was a Mr. Havlick Smith. So they assumed that I might be married. So that was also my marital status. So my sexual orientation, because they didn't ask if there was a Mrs. Havlick Smith, but they asked if there was a Mr. And then the second one was usually if there's a Mr., that is implying of asking me about my marital status. Now, at that time, I was really inexperienced as an interviewee, and I did not know how to answer that question. And it was really difficult. And I also started thinking to myself after the interview, do I really want to work for a company that violated me with asking those kinds of illegal questions? Now, the best way to answer a question that has nothing to do with how well you can do the job is by asking, can you tell me how this pertains to the job? This is a really easy way to flip around the question to the employer so that they can tell you what any of those questions pertain to the job itself, because my sexual orientation and my marital status have nothing to do with my ability to do a job. So that's my story.
Thank you, Norma, for sharing. And remember to be professional and focus your response to the skill sets and the specific job duties.
As we have mentioned, we want to make sure that you always come prepared to the interview with at least 5 questions. Now, the first thing to do when you sit down for your interview is to actually pull out your list of questions on a piece of paper and place it in front of you. This is just a cheat, if you will, because it shows the employer and the interviewer that you are coming prepared to ask them some questions. Can you imagine if you were on your first date, if you never asked the other person questions about themselves, how would they feel as far as if you want to know about them? Remember that interviewing, it's a two-way street. The interviewer also wants to know if you really care about what that company does, about the job, and how well you're going to fit in. So some questions that you might ask during the interview might be, can you tell me about the culture of this company? Another question might be, what are your expectations for the first 30 days, the first 90 days, and the first year in this role? Another question might be, what are the biggest challenges and opportunities this department is facing right now? I love that question, by the way. Love that question, because in many cases, people will leave a job because of something that's going on, and there might be a problem. So this might give you some insight as to what you're walking into if they hire you. Another question might be, what is the next step in the hiring process? And then a favorite question of mine is, can you tell me a day in the life of this job? Tell me what it's like to work in this position in one particular day. It might be, tell me what it's like to work a Monday through Thursday, what it's like to work on a Friday in this particular role. Because this is where it's critical for you to learn about the job itself. Now, something really important to notate is what questions you don't want to ask during that interview. You want to make sure that you're asking questions that pertain to the job itself and not the benefits and perks of the job. So make sure that you do not ask about the wages or the salary, and then the benefits or the time off or the health insurance. In most cases, that information will be provided to you by the interviewer in some way, shape, or form. And then if they tell you that information, then you can ask for additional details, but you do not want to be the first one to ask those questions. Because again, as we link this interviewing to dating, if you were going on a first date and the person that you were on that first date asked you, so tell me what kind of job you do, or tell me what kind of wages you earn, or what kind of car do you drive? Those are more questions that can be asked at a later time. And those are really not about who the person is or about the company, but instead the perks. So again, really focus on the questions that relate to doing the job, what it's going to be like for you when you're on the job.
Wonderfully said, Norma. Now, you have had this amazing interview. You have asked these amazing closing questions, and you are about to leave the room, the interview room. Make sure to give that strong, firm handshake, like Norma mentioned earlier. Don't forget to thank the interviewer for their time and welcome the opportunity to see them and work with them in the near future. Make sure to ask them for their business card. And the tip is, you would like to write them a note, a thank you note for making the time to interview you. And in the note, you could make it as brief as, thank you for making time to interview me today. I learned a lot about the company. I see your passion and vision and hope to be able to serve and be of value or asset to your organization. Best regards, you put your name. If you have a thank you card and you have a thank you note, you can even be strategic in making sure that you write out your note and leave it with the receptionist before you walk out that door. That shows you came prepared. And that can be the make and break from you and another candidate who strongly interviewed, just like you, who have the similar skill sets. That note, that thank you letter could make you the choice for their team. And Norma, we just got a comment. It references back to our conversation about what questions employers should not ask. The question was, how do you answer any racial questions? Would you like to answer that?
The easiest way to frame up that answer is to first ask the employer, can you tell me how this pertains to the job that I am doing? This will then deflect the question off of you and back onto the employer. Selena, what other tip would you provide in that regard?
You make a valid point, Norma. I think you said it best. Now, as I take a step back and I look at the mindset of an interviewee, I'm thinking this person is eager and looking to land a job, right? And they are trying to put their best foot forward. And they don't want to, in a sense, answer a question in a way that could eliminate them from the next round of potential candidates. So it's in a sense, it's a difficult question, okay? But Norma says it best. Keep your composure, be professional, and answer, how is this relevant to the role? Allowing the employer to hopefully reframe themselves or rephrase the question if the race is relevant to the role that you are looking to hopefully get hired for. So I think it's an opportunity to challenge the employer to build a little bit more upon the specific skills and qualifications and criteria that they're looking for in a hiring candidate. Great question, and thank you for asking.
And I want to tag up on what Selena had mentioned too, is none of those illegal categories have anything to do with how well you do the job. So you could also answer the question by saying, my race has absolutely no way or shape affecting my ability to do this job and a job well done. I can do anything and everything that's on that job description, and my race has nothing to do with it. Hopefully, you can answer that just the way in which I did, in a confident and clear manner, so that way they have no worry. But here's my point too, is if they're asking you questions that are illegal, something to consider about the reputation of that company too.
Great point, Norma.
We're going to go ahead and show a little video clip. And this is going to allow you to grab a little bit of popcorn and your pad of paper to take some notes. So feel free and sit back and enjoy this video clip, and then we'll reconvene in just a moment.
Arguably the most crucial part of the job search, an interview can make or break an opportunity. So to help you really prepare, we're going to dissect and analyze an entire interview from start to finish. I'll be sprinkling in a mix of tips about body language, etiquette, and how to answer common questions. Like, when exactly does the interview start? How do you deal with nerves? And how soon can you follow up? For years, athletes have used science and data analysis to improve. Now, we are doing the same for job seekers everywhere. This is Job Science. Meet Anya, a recent grad majoring in business administration. She's interviewing for an entry-level project management position. Note her posture. Head up, shoulders pulled back, no slouching, and no laid-backness. The interview begins the minute you walk into the building. Anya treats everyone in the office with respect while keeping eye contact. From security personnel to receptionists, anyone you run into on your way in could be asked to give feedback on you. It's normal to be nervous. When nerves kick in, the natural human response is to take short breaths and breathe faster. Stay calm by taking a deep breath before entering. Hold it, count to 3, and then slowly breathe out. Pause. First, ace those introductions. Greet everyone in a way that is authentic to you, like, hey, nice to meet you, and then say their name. That one always works. You know, you're more likely to remember their name if you say it out loud when you first meet. A lot of the time, small talk comes up before any questions. It's good to have a few current events or topics in mind. You can't possibly predict what they're gonna ask, but you can practice answering the common ones, like, why do you wanna work here? What makes you unique? Let's see what our interviewer asks.
So I want to hear more. Tell me a little about your experience and what you'd bring to this role.
Pause. When this is asked, they're looking to learn what makes you stand out. Be honest with your answers. If that means having to pause and think for a second, that is all right. Think about your past experiences and how the role lines up with your future goals. It never hurts to be honest.
Great question. Ever since I was young, I've always been the organized one in my family. Whether it was helping my parents schedule vacations or color coordinating my closet, naturally that lifestyle got me here, project management. I've been a people person for as long as I can remember. Plain and simple, I love team building and making sure everyone has a part. Just the other month.
Ooh, just really quick, don't speak negatively about previous places you've worked. Instead, talk about what you've learned.
I helped lead a team of 5 to deliver a 3-week sales project a few days ahead of schedule. I'd love to bring these things here.
Perfect. A response like this not only answers the question, but also shows off her personality. But remember, there's no one right way to interview and answer questions. Be yourself and let your personality shine. Be aware of your movements. Practice polite, confident body language. Subtly miming your interviewer's posture can actually create a sense of connection. Of all places, unnecessary movements are hard to ignore in an interview. Whether it's tapping your fingers or bouncing your leg, be aware and stay present.
Hey, it's been great chatting so far. I guess my last question is, do you have any questions for me?
Ooh, this is a hot one. Make sure to have a short list of questions for your employer in your back pocket. Ask the questions you would if you got the job. If tomorrow was your first day, what would you want to know from the manager? Even if you don't have any burning questions, asking a few shows that you did your homework and that you really care. Some include, what do you like best about working here? What are some mistakes people have made in this position? What is a goal you're currently working toward? How will my performance be evaluated?
Well, I did read that you're expanding your software team next quarter. I'm curious how you plan to carry that out.
The interview isn't actually over. Always follow up within 24 hours with a thank you email to the hiring manager. This can be a quick note simply thanking them for their time, or a longer one that elaborates on some of the things you talked about. It's key to leaving a lasting impression. This was the breakdown of an interview. Till next time.
When you get that job offer, you're going to probably be offered a type of salary, whether it's hourly or whether it's yearly. And sometimes you might need to consider the wages that are being offered. And if you feel comfortable and confident being able to negotiate those wages. So in order to be comfortable and confident to ask and negotiate wages, here's what you can do. First, do a little bit of research about the going rate for the labor market for that particular type of job. One of the great websites that I tell people to use is www.onetonline.org. And again, that's www.onetonline.org. So that's onetonline.org. This is where you can find out the going rate, the average entry level and experience level wages for that type of job. especially in your area. So if you do a 50-mile radius search and the wages for that particular job, when you go into the interview, then you want to pay attention to what they're offering you. Another piece to this puzzle is you need to know what your lowest offer that you're willing to accept. Make sure that you really understand what you need to accept in order to survive, be able to pay your bills, and be able to get to and from work to pay your gas mileage. So you want to know what your number is, research the labor market information, and then when you are about to ask, here's a really great question to ask as far as framing it up is, I understand that you're offering me $35,000 for this position. By chance, would your budget allow you to offer me a salary between this range? And then give them the range that you're trying to look for. You can also include a little bit about, looking at the labor market information. You can say, I did look at the labor market for this area, and I do see that a salary range is between this and this range, and I provide these skills, and I was hoping that I could be offered the higher end of this rate. So again, you're coming in with confidence, but you're also asking them if their budget would allow you to do that, because it's really all about budgeting for the salaries. And then to be even more persuasive is to let them know that you did your research on the labor market in the area, and that you also offer those skills that would hopefully land you in the higher wage bracket. Now, by asking them if their budget allows it, you are telling them that you understand it's all about their budget, and that you are asking them their willingness to give you that higher rate. You never ever want to demand a higher rate, because that kind of approach is not going to leave you in a good, positive first impression. So in a case where you've gone on many interviews and you're not landing job offers, don't fret, don't worry. If you've gone through those first few interviews and maybe you're not landing the job offers, maybe you need some additional skills, and that's okay. In that case, you might find that you need more education, or you might need to even refresh some skills that you already have, or certify skills that you already have. So here's where we're going to help you ease some of that worry. Is there are many great grant programs offered through Kirkwood Community College that are not limited to Kirkwood though, okay? And they include our K-PACE program, our GAP tuition assistance, and our WIOA grants, which help and support eligible individuals to help them with their HiSET, their adult education goals, obtaining continuing education certifications, diploma programs, and even 1- and 2-year degree programs, even including learning opportunities like experiential learning and internships, work experiences, and registered apprenticeships. And we have a dedicated department of staff to help youth ages 16 to 24 who are either in school or out of school, adults who are 18 or older, and also those who are dislocated workers or those who have lost their jobs due to no fault of their own. And our contact information is here on the slide on the right column. It says skills to employment at kirkwood.edu. Because we as Kirkwood Community College and Iowa Works are invested in serving our community. And we want to make sure that we give you an opportunity to take yourself from great to amazing by adding additional education or skills to your resume and make you even better for that next interview.
Very well said, Norma. As career strategists and workforce career consultants, Norma and I welcome the opportunity of assisting you with landing that dream job. Now that we have provided you with the successful tips and tricks for interviewing, let's open it up for questions and answers. So I will go to the chat room and hopefully welcome some questions about today's presentation.
I see some virtual hands considering to be raised.
All right. So Norma, while we wait for that, I think we've allowed that awkward 1 minute to pass, right? While we wait for our audience to warm up, we've got questions for you. And
for me?
Yes.
All right.
So Norma, can you just recap a little bit on the question about tell me about yourself?
That question is, I love that question, but I hate that question. It's a love-hate relationship with that question, because I also, before I answer that question, I need to know the context. So if I'm going in for an interview and the first thing I have with me is the job description so that I can keep in mind what it is that I'm applying for. Because when I answer that question, I want to make sure that I answer parts of their job description of what they're looking for. So I might, first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself. My name is Norma Jean. I am currently a workforce career consultant with Kirkwood Community College and partnered with Iowa Works. I understand that this job is looking for someone who does public communication and presentations and someone who's very well adept with computers. Well, let me tell you that I meet both of those requirements very easily. I am currently a distinguished Toastmaster. I have a bachelor's and master's in public communication. I also love talking with people in large group settings, in small group settings, in virtual settings like this one. And I also am very tech savvy, as you can see. We had a little bit of tech difficulty in this presentation, but not a problem. We overcame that just by being ready on the fly with a plan B. But also, I love technology. I'm very tech curious, and I carry all different types of technology with myself, but I'm also able to use Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access. I'm comfortable using databases. I can type about 60 words per minute. So hoping that those things really are what you're looking for.
I love it. You are hired. We're done with the interview. If that was true, right? But that was very well said. Really focusing on your skills, your qualifications, and aligning that information with what the employers are looking for. Now,
Selenia?
Yes.
There was a question that was asked.
Okay.
So one of the questions that was asked is, what if someone needs more one-on-one help with their interviewing skills?
Wonderful. Well, if someone needs one-on-one assistance with the interviewing skills, Norma and myself are more than happy to create a forum where you can have mock interview, practice interview session. There are other partners or entities within Kirkwood. The Kirkwood Career Services provide that resource to the community as a whole. So you can reach out to the Kirkwood Career Services as well and schedule an appointment with them. They can assist you with resume writing. They can assist you with mock interviews, the whole preparation component that it takes for you to go from job searching to employment security. But we at Iowa Works, in partners with Kirkwood, we want to be your one-stop shop. So please feel free to reach out to us at Skills to Employment website that was provided to you earlier. Now, remember, Kirkwood and Iowa Works are invested in your success. Your success is our success. Thank you for your time today. And we hope you have a great rest of your week. Norma?
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the day.